Every year in the middle of summer, pilots travel from literally around the globe to a seemingly insignificant airport in central Wisconsin. For 1 week, this airport far surpasses air travel into any other airport in the world, making it the busiest control tower globally for those 7 days. Everything from vintage aircraft to modern sleek designs fly into Oshkosh in aviation's biggest gathering. A few of the 500,000 visitors to the event get the pride of claiming that they flew in. So when I finished the Cessna 140 project 2 years ago, I immediately set my sights on this goal. For some, the idea of flying an aircraft with no transponder and only a handheld radio halfway across the country to camp in a field has no appeal. But for me, it was the adventure of a lifetime. Many of you watched my painful process of getting this aircraft back into the air. For a year, I replaced parts and components, wondering if Little Blue would ever fly again. Now, I'm getting ready to take it on the longest adventure we've ever done together. Since our first flight back in July of 2023, I've put about 100 hours on my Cessna 140. Many of these, however, were just short hops at sunsets or flights in the Middle Tennessee area. This trip represents a whole new level of challenge and risks as I get ready to fly it for nearly 20 hours on a round trip to AirVenture and back.
Okay, so today I am headed up towards Oshkosh. Hopefully you can hear this. If not, it's going to be a really awkward, long video that doesn't have any audio on it. So it's been a long day for me already. I got up at 4 o'clock, left southern central Indiana to come get the plane. And then now I'm headed back into what looks like is an absolutely trash weather day because I have to get my stuff. I've left it up there with my wife. Here we go.
The first leg was progressively more cloudy. By the time I reached Paoli, Indiana, the weather was preventing me from traveling further. Fortunately, I was able to reach an airport manager who allowed me to put my plane in their hangar for what I thought would be the rest of the day. I went over to my in-laws' house and got some much-needed rest after an already long day of travel. Once I woke from the nap, I noticed the radar seemed to be dissipating across much of the state. I went back to the airport, loaded my aircraft with my camping gear in case I did catch a break. I planned to take off and fly north and refuel at a nearby airport and look northwest to see what the weather was doing. After I took off though, the airport I was planning on going into had a shower settle into it. I was able, however, to go directly west, and after about an hour of flying, I had reached Sullivan, Illinois, set right at the back edge of the nasty weather and promised a clean shot towards Oshkosh. Once I was wheels up from Sullivan, I pointed the aircraft just to the west of the 30 nautical mile ADS-B and Mode C Vale around Chicago. I still had over 3 hours left in my trip, and I didn't know if I was going to make it all the way by the time that Oshkosh closed at 8 p.m., but I could tell that I was going to be pretty close. The wind shifted behind the front, and the aircraft and I sped up across the ground as we raced above the corn-swept fields in the breadbasket of America.
Well, there's a little weather right there.
RV has not been picked up.
Check 1, 2.
Good route, yours is first one inbound, right? If you inbound, I'll start slowing it down, please. You're going to runway 9
You know it's heavy rain when you feel it hit your legs through the airplane. But still VFR. I'm going to go ahead and pop carby just a smidge since I've got water. And as soon as we hit it, we're basically going to be past it.
I reached Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin around 6:45 p.m. At the time, there was only a small shower to the west of Oshkosh and relatively beautiful summer skies, so I quickly refueled the aircraft, checked my oil, and launched back on the journey. Once airborne, though, I realized that the weather over Oshkosh had blossomed into a full-blown summer thunderstorm. The airport closed down, and several disgruntled aircraft kept questioning if it was going to open back up to controllers who had no control over that weather. I felt like if the storm kept progressing as I was watching it, the airport would be able to open for about 30 minutes just before it closed for the evening for good. So I started to maneuver for a point that would give me ample time on the menacing Fisk arrival before reaching the first controller checkpoint. For those unfamiliar, aircraft arriving into Oshkosh must fly a special arrival developed and tweaked each year for safety. This involves following ground landmarks to a specific point, the city of Ripon, then on to Fisk, where an air traffic controller would give you landing directions east or north. This procedure can be complex, especially with hundreds of other aircrafts attempting the same arrival. Completing the trip without ADS-B, although common for decades, is not the most common way to attempt this treacherous arrival. I was very cautious when the airport opened back up and was very fortunate that only a dozen aircraft or so were with me on the arrival as we snuck in just before the NOTAM curfewed the airport.
Alright, I've got it back open. Got one RV to the right. And nobody to the left. 1,899, so let's tighten this up. I need 104 on the indicator.
A lot of aircraft going the procedure from Puckaway Lake. You have not done the procedure at Green Lake. The new starting point is Puckaway Lake. So if you have not joined the procedure at Green Lake, I need you to go westbound and start the procedure at Puckaway Lake. Puckaway Lake is now the new transition point. The starting point is there from Puckaway Lake to Green Lake to Ripon. Once you pass Ripon, you need to run.
I don't think it's possible to capture in a video or in words what this feeling of landing at Oshkosh truly feels like to a pilot. Personally, it was not just the culmination of my Cessna 140's journey, but really my journey in aviation as well. I've had a lot of exciting times, whether it's flying across the country as an undergraduate student, retracing the first continental flight, or getting to fly a DC-3 all over the southeast of the United States. But this will always be a very special moment for me.
Well, I didn't get what I wanted, but that's alright. I don't guess I really needed that then. Alright, let's fly this puppy to the shocks.
Oshkosh 2025 was a special year for me. I had the opportunity to co-present with a faculty member in the department. I got to catch up with so many friends and made some new ones. I got absolutely destroyed in the AOPA trivia night, and that's not what I'm proud of, considering how much I love aviation history. But by far, the most memorable thing for me was navigating the storms and procedures to find myself unpacking a tent on Saturday before the big show began. The return trip on Thursday was relatively smooth. The minute the airport opened, I hit the starter button. Even then, I was about the 20th airplane to depart runway 36 with a beautiful flight of 4 Mustangs leading the way. It was 50 miles before the wave of aircraft departing Oshkosh finally started to spread out, with some flying by me overhead less than 1,000 feet away. Smooth weather ahead made for a relaxing day of flying back to Middle Tennessee.
All right, so real fast, I do want to thank Ryan over at Fusilier Aviation for sending me a new set of AirVents. These are not the traditional Cessna 140 AirVents. Ryan actually 3D prints these AirVents for a variety of aircraft, including Cessna 120s and 140s. I installed mine. It took maybe about 20 minutes to get them both in, and it does provide a little bit more of a cleaner way to flow the air into the cabin. It would have been really nice to have this during the summer, but unfortunately they did not show up until after I got back from Oshkosh. So these are now installed in the aircraft, and I do want to thank Ryan over there. Go check his work out at fusileraviation.com.
Good, and start at base. Go fast there. A smidge fast and a smidge high, but we got time to get it resolved.
Once home, I made a victory lap around town as I returned. On occasion, my runway doubles as a practice driving range, and today I had one additional challenge of navigating the 110-yard marker that Dad forgot to move when he got done hitting balls. Decent but less than perfect landing, and I was officially home on the ultimate capstone to any aviation journey. But for me, it's really more of the ending of one chapter and the beginning of a brand new story.
Down flaps. Oh. And we're home. Not the prettiest landing, but with objects on the runway, that's the best I can do.
So getting to go on this trip to Oshkosh and taking the Cessna 140 with me is a huge reward in this journey. I can remember days and sometimes long nights in this hangar where I honestly didn't know if she was ever going to fly again, much less take it across the country and to AirVenture this past year. I know this is very cliche to say, but we all have our individual journeys through aviation. And many of you have joined me just through watching this series on the Cessna 140 as I've walked through my journey in aviation. And quite frankly, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have expected to be where I am today, not just with this aircraft, but what it's given me the confidence to do. Once I completed the Cessna 140 project in 2023 and started to fly, I began looking for a new project, something to stretch my skills a little bit further. I absolutely enjoyed and loved every minute of putting the aircraft back together and getting it flying, despite the challenges that incurred. But I was looking for something new. I was hopeful for a J3 maybe, which I still would love to have one of these days. But I needed something a little bit more practical and something that met my mission. So in 2024, I put the down payment on an experimental aircraft at AirVenture that year, and I have recently received that aircraft, and I'm so excited to share this next stage of the journey with you on what that airplane is, why I chose it, and then just sharing the build process with you. I am super excited, and I know you're going to enjoy it, especially those of you that have enjoyed the Cessna 140. This is just going to be so much more maintenance related content than even that series had, because now I'm not just repairing certain items or inspecting, I'm building an aircraft from a kit. So I'd love to know what you think the aircraft is down in the comments below, as well as what you think about this transition, going to an experimental aircraft from the Cessna 140. I'll still keep her around. She's going to be here for a while. The plan is going to be to sell the aircraft at some point though, when I make the transition and turning point, really trying to finish out my home built that I'm getting. So make sure you look for that. It'll be on the market probably in the next year or two. But right now I'm just enjoying the aircraft, enjoying the adventures we're going on, and really enjoying sharing that with you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.